All right, peace. What's going on, tech and data nerds? If you guys love basketball and you guys love data science, you're gonna love this project. In this new study, we're going to be doing some WNBA game stat analysis, and we're specifically in the first season going to be going over our league's MVP, Asia Wilson's game analysis. So get excited about this, guys. All right. So this is a project where basketball meets data science. So again, if you love you some basketball and you are a fan of analysis and data science, you're really gonna geek out over this. I know I was geeking out over this project, guys. All right. So, again, we're going to be using our league's MVP, Miss Asia Wilson, and the Las Vegas Aces. We're going to do a deep dive into their game analysis. All right. So we're going to be studying things like Asia's overall per year and per opponent, like her field goal percentage, her rebounds, her free throw percentage, assists, steals, blocks, etc. What you guys see over on the right, this is a sample dashboard that I saw that they built online using Tableau. They built this for LeBron James. Now, the WNBA stats that I had online, they don't have like where the players attempt shots on the field. So I would need to get my hands on that data to actually reproduce this specific chart. But I just wanted to give you guys some examples of the visualizations that we're going to build in this project. And it's also going to end up being a full stack type of project where if you visit online, you'll be able to like check out like some dashboards and things of that nature. But let's continue. So here is some visualizations of what we're going to build. So if you guys look over on the left-hand side, again, like these will be just like guesstimates because as of right now, we just have you guys will see the data set in a second. We don't have exactly where the shots were taken, but WNBA slash Asia Wilson. If you guys happen to stumble across this video and you guys want to provide further data so that we can actually like plot exactly where the shots were taken, that'd be amazing. All right, but we're gonna have some visualizations look like this. I especially want to call out this dashboard that we will be able to build. So we'll have some gauges that like shows the field goal percentage, the 3-point shooting percentage, her plus or minus, free throw percentage, etc. And they will also have some cards at the top that tells us some other important analysis that we might want to study. Yeah, let's get into this. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be using the WNBA's data set. So this data is publicly available. So if you guys want to follow along, this is a situation where you guys can just check out the WNBA.com and go to their game log, and you guys will actually be able to use the exact same data that we're using in this project. All right, so here's a sample of what the raw data looks like. All right, here's our entity relationship diagram. So for this study, we're going to keep it super duper simple. We're just going to have three tables. We're going to have a team table, a player table, and then a player game stat table. You guys will see the details about the fields in the next slide. All right, so here's our team table. Here are the fields that we're going to have and then their respective data type. So super basic, we're going to have a team ID, a title, a slug, abbreviation, is active, created at, and updated at. And then for our player, again, this is super duper simple. We're just going to have a player ID, full name, team ID, a jersey number, is active, created at, updated at. All right, super simple. All right, so for our player game stats table, this is our main table that's going to have all the information that we're going to use to perform our analysis. So we're going to have that player game stats ID. We're going to have a player ID. That's a foreign key to the player table. We're going to have a game year, a game date, opponent player ID. So that's going to be a foreign key to the team table that we saw. We have an is home, is win, points, rebounds, assists, steal, blocks, turnovers, field goal attempts, field goal makes, field goal percentage, 3-point attempts, 3-point makes, and 3-point percentage. And also free throw attempts, free throw makes, and free throw percentage. And then finally our personal foul field. Okay. So here are some of the questions that we're going to answer in this analysis. And we're going to start off first by answering all these questions in SQL, and then we're going to build visualization. So we're going to answer questions like which three teams and which three games did Asia grab the most rebounds and the fewest rebounds? Which teams defeated the Las Vegas Aces the most each year? All right. Which games and teams did Asia have the most steals against? Which games and teams did Asia have the least number of turnovers and the most number of turnovers? Which teams does Asia have the best field goal percentage against? Which games and teams does Asia have the most free throw attempts against and the least? Those are just some examples. Let me see if I can find one that's really interesting. Okay, let's look at this one. On average, does Asia attempt more free throws when she's at home or when she's away? On average, how many rebounds does Asia get when her team wins? Let's see. What's another really interesting one? Let's see. Okay. What's Asia's average of free throw attempts when her team loses? All right. And what's her average free throw attempts when her team wins? Which games did she have the most personal fouls? How many times does the Las Vegas Aces lose when Asia has more than or equal to one standard deviation away from her average rebounds? So basically, we're saying like when she has at least like one standard deviation less than her average rebounds, how many times does her team lose, right? And what we're doing right now is, first of all, I want to point out the fact that Asia Wilson is an amazing, amazing, amazing player. I totally understand why she has won MVP. Just by going through her numbers, like I'm really just amazed. And the Las Vegas Aces are an incredible team, and they actually, win way, way, way more times than not. And so, what I really wanted to study was the instances where they actually lose. Do we see anything strange happen? And we start with our league's MVP, right? The games that the Las Vegas Aces lose, did she have, like did she grab way fewer rebounds than she typically does? Did she have, fewer field goal attempts or fewer free throw attempts than she typically does? How far, like if so, how far away from the average um do those game stats happen, right? So what we're really trying to do, and you guys will see this at some point, is cluster like the team wins versus loses and try to see if there's any features that can better explain, like, okay, on the off games, on the off times where the Las Vegas Aces lose, what features can we like look at that might describe what happened, right? Is it the fact that, maybe our MVP attempted fewer, field goals than she typically does? Did she get more fouls? Was her shooting not as great? Um, is there any type of explanatory variables that we can use that would be true if we were to look at her when the team loses versus wins? So those are the typical things that we're going to dive a little bit more into. So let me see if there's another example I want to show you guys. All right, so I just wanted to give you guys a preview of what some of the SQL statements will look like that will answer together in this study. So, for example, when we answer which three teams did Asia get the most rebounds against per year, as of right now, only 2025 is loaded. So that's why you guys only see 2025. But this is the query that would answer that question. All right. So we're using our rank over partition by, and we're summing the total rebounds that she gets against each team. So yeah, this is an example query. In the study, guys, I'm actually going to walk through you guys through the SQL for answering each one of those questions. Just want to give you guys a preview. Here's another one. So if you notice on this one, we asked, which three teams. So we're grouping this by the total number of points she scored against each team. Versus in this one, the granularity is a little different. It says which three games. So we're looking at a row by row basis in this situation and trying to figure out, okay, which three games did she grab the most rebounds versus which three teams did she grab the most rebounds against per year? All right, makes sense? Cool. And then this one was a really fun study. So which three teams defeated the Las Vegas Aces the most per year? Again, 2020, the 2025 data is the only data that's been loaded. We manually put that in. In the future, we'll double check that we can in fact scrape the WNBA's website. Um, it's hopefully we can. We'll go over how to actually do the extraction of that because it's very manual right now. So only the 2025 data is loaded. But anywho, here's the query that we use. So we counted the number of times that the Las Vegas Aces lost. And what we wanted to know was, which of those teams gave them the most losses. And as you guys can see, when you're using a rank over, you typically have ties, or you can have ties, and we had ties in this situation. So this is only for 2025. Once we have more data loaded, this will get more interesting. But these are the teams, and this is also typical. Like, it's not like they play teams five, six, seven times. So probably at most, they're gonna play a team maybe like two or three times. And I also want to point out the fact that this is only regular season game analysis that's added. So the postseason, preseason, and any like specialty type games, they are not included in the data set. This is just for her regular season. All right, cool. So we also are going to go into detail about standard deviation. Again, the reason why this comes into play is we want to see basically how spread out different measures are from the average. So how spread out are the points from her average? And I can tell you guys, like Asia is a consistently good player. If we look at, so for example, on average, she's averaging around 23 points. The deviation is around 8 points, so like plus or minus like 8.7 points. But if we look a little bit deeper into this, we'll see that there's only like a few games that's really dragging down that average. Like for example, this is the one that I pulled where she only scored 2 points that game. That is very abnormal for Asia. In fact, I'd be interested to see. And then if you even look at like did I pull this like the minute she played that game? Where is it? Do we actually pull that in? But this is what I mean. And then if you notice, they did not win that game. So this is what I mean as far as like us like looking for features that could possibly explain some of their losses. All right. They don't lose very often. So I just wanted to dial into like, okay, what is happening on those games where they did lose? And like I said, like Asia is pretty consistent. Like she is like very like I was just really blown away about her performance. But like this game, for example, I would be interested in looking more into this game. I forget how many minutes she played, but I think she doesn't even play this like the typical minutes. Oh, here it is. She plays 14. Like on average, Asia plays around like 30. I think like I want to say like close to 30 minutes. I have to go back and look, but like on average, Asia's playing around like 30 minutes, right? So her only playing 14 minutes that game, that's a little bit odd to me. So I'd be really interested to see like, okay, what happened that game? Especially she only scored 2 points and she only had two free throw attempts. That's also not like her. She only had three field goal attempts, not like her, but that probably coincides with the fact that she only played 14 minutes. So I'm not really sure what happened that game. Maybe I don't know if she got pulled out early. I don't know if she got injured or something of that nature. I'm not really sure, but that's an example of what I mean. And this is where the visualizations is really going to come in, guys. It's a little bit harder to like eyeball the raw numbers, but when we begin to actually like plot these on graphs, and the one that I can think of, I don't know if it's here, but if we actually, the one that I was thinking of that I like used to do for, it's not here, but it'd be like a bar chart. Actually, it'd be kind of similar to this. Um, so imagine that there's a bar chart that like has maybe like each game, and what we will want to do is have this like basically have this line, not like this, like a straight line that shows what her average is, and we're looking for instances where like the stack is very different than the average, and we can more visually see how far away each measurement is from the average. So that's really where the visualization part is going to come in at. All right. Was there anything else I wanted to call out? Yeah, so what was here? So this is what I mean, guys. So just looking at the minutes she played, and again, I think she averages around like 30 minutes. So again, her only playing 14 minutes. I'm like, okay, what was going on with that game? 22 minutes, again, that's not as far away from, the how many minutes she typically plays. But even her only scoring 10 points. Yeah, I said only because Asia's a beast and she usually scores around 20 points, right? So her having like 10 points that game, for other players that'd be like, oh, great game. But for Asia, like, no, like Asia usually scores around 23 points. So these games where she's being held to like 10 points, 13 points, when we get further away from the deviation, that's the ones I want to really look into and find out what happened. Like, is it the case that they held her to fewer free throw attempts or field goal attempts? Etc. So this should be a really fun study. We're gonna kick this off by first just practicing some SQL skills and answering some of the questions. We're gonna build some visualizations, and then eventually we're gonna really dial into seeing like just dialing more into the analysis part of opponents that have been able to actually defeat the aces. Like what typically happens, like what's different about those games? What do those opponents do that they're actually able to defeat the Las Vegas Aces? So, like I said before, if you love basketball, if you love data science, you guys are really gonna love this course. In the next lesson, we're actually gonna start practicing some of our SQL. And then we'll continue on to get to the visualization part, and then we'll get to the fun part of doing some studies that see if we can split the data, cluster the data for times where they won or lost, or times where Asia is shooting above or below her average, and then really dial into the analysis. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, and then I will see you guys in our next lesson for us studying some WNBA game stacks. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next lesson.